I like the enemies to lover type, the light, but it's light though. So yeah, I like her to be the hoity-toity chef in the big city with all the Michelin star food, and all he wants is a burger, and he wants to know, well, where's the goddamn cow?
Welcome to the story. It's story time with Skye. You can fall in love and laugh until you cry. It's story time with Skye. It's story time with Skye.
Welcome to Storytime with Skye. I'm your host, New York Times bestselling author Skye Warren. Every week, I tell a brand new story based on the heroes, heroines, and meet-cutes that you want to hear about. I bring on some of my favorite romance authors as guests to help me craft a hilarious, steamy, and ultimately romantic story with a guaranteed happily ever after. So pour a glass of something fun. Welcome to the story. Hello, everyone. I'm Skye Warren. You're here at Storytime with Skye. And I have someone very cool with me right now. I have Natalie Knight. She writes romance that toes the line. And I'm just going to interject and say crosses the line, but in a good way, and leaves you craving for more. What can she say? It's dangerously delectable. Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
So we are going to write a story together. What do you think?
Oh, sounds fun.
Okay. I really love that you go all the way taboo with your books. You don't.
Nope.
Yeah. So did you always write taboo stuff? Was that kind of your first ideas, or did you used to write other genres?
Actually, remember when I was telling you that I wrote books earlier in 2016, 2017?
Huh?
They wore taboo. And I didn't, like I said, that's probably why they weren't getting on Amazon. And then when I finally came back to writing in 2020, I just wrote your regular billionaire, alpha male, curvy heroine, short romances. And then I eventually, last year, Bad Uncle was the first one. I wrote my first, again, taboo, but I released it on my website and it was received very well. And I'm like, yay!
Yeah, it is so hard, right? Because you can't always put the books on Amazon, and that's where readers want to get their books. So good that you were able to pursue the kind of book you wanted to write. So it sounds like you have some books that are on Amazon, so everyone can go check out those. We'll put links in the show notes and everything like that. And you also write specifically taboo things that cannot be on sites like Amazon, and you have that directly on your website.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Okay, so what we're going to do is tell a story together. And the story, it's a little bit like choose your own adventure, and it has 3 parts. And from there, we can kind of do whatever we want. So I'm going to tell you what the plot part was, but I am going to tell you that none of this has taboo stuff in it. And if we wanted to interject that at any part, I'm happy to do that. So there's 2 characters, and often I'll do hero and heroine, but we might want to do MM or we might not. So I'll just say that character 1 is a chef.
Okay.
Have you ever written a chef?
I have not.
You like the chef?
Yeah, I like it. I like chefs.
Okay. All right. So we have a chef. We have the second character is a cowboy.
Ooh, I like that. I like cowboys.
Yeah, I can dig a cowboy. And the way that they connect, so kind of called the meet cute or whatever, but it's just part of how they connect with each other originally is someone eavesdrops on a private conversation.
Interesting.
So we have to think about how we want to put together a chef and a cowboy, and someone's going to be eavesdropping. And what do we think the meeting would be like between these people? I feel like it's sort of forming in my mind already, just because I would write them like that is the hero is the cowboy and the heroine is the chef.
Yes, I was thinking that too. And I'm thinking kind of one of them is a fish out of water. And I want to say it's the cowboy in the wrong city. He's there for something.
Okay.
And that's how he meets the chef.
Yep. Okay. So he's a fish out of water. He's going into the city for a purpose, presumably, because it's not where he normally is or wants to be. I wonder if like he's going there specifically for her, like, because it's like not that many things would draw him out. You know, his business with the cows
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. So like there's got to be a specific reason he's going into the city, venturing.
Oh, maybe he's going into the city. So it's interesting though. Why I know this, don't ask. But when they trade cattle, they have to go through the big cities to the trading conventions. And maybe something happened to his truck. And so he has to spend the night or a few nights in the big city. He doesn't have his cattle though. He's going to get his cattle. Because that would just be bad. Damn cow.
She's like, yes, here's my tiny apartment. He's like, I have all these cows. Okay. I feel like if I'm going to do a cowboy, I like him to be like a nice alpha cowboy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I want him to be, I had this idea when you were talking about him getting stranded sort of in the city. What if he is just like, shit, like I have to grab a hotel, you know, and just, I don't know, bunker down or something because it's the city.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sleep on your horse or whatever. I love the complete disregard for realism that we have right now on like that, how he's being transported in any way. Like we just don't care. And I love that for us. So what if he's in this hotel? Maybe she's a chef who works like in this hotel and she's in a bad spot. Like maybe her boyfriend's a little bit like pushy, borderline abusive. I don't know how like far we wanted to go with that, but like he's not a good guy. He's sort of badgering her over the phone and he overhears it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she could have a shitty boyfriend. She can also be, maybe she lost, like, so she's at this hotel cooking. She's a chef and maybe, you know, she didn't get a chef job at like a really good restaurant. So she has that up against her. And then she has this crappy boyfriend who's badgering her. And he's abusive. She's just up against the wall. She's your damsel in distress. Heroine with the shitty car, too. Gotta have a shitty car.
I like it. And I also have this thought, like, because we're doing this whole fish out of the water, like city girl, country boy thing, to like really emphasize it. What if he's also like, she's obviously having a bad day. She's having problems, right? But what if he's like having a particularly bad day because of this whole thing that has gone wrong that has even required him to be in the city, you know? Mm-hmm. And so he goes into this restaurant just like very grumpy. I just had this thought, what if it's some kind of like fancy new age type restaurant, just like to really highlight the sort of city aspect?
Yes. And all he wants is a burger.
I know. And maybe it's like super fancy or like vegetarian or like the plate sizes are tiny or, you know, like the serving sizes or something like that. And he would normally not like be this much of an asshole, but like in his level of grumpiness and hunger, he's hangry, you know? He goes back into the kitchen to complain, like, just give me a steak, you know?
And the chef takes his breath away. No.
And then
so dramatic.
He overhears, you know, the convo and is like, oh, that does not sit right with my sense of, you know, masculinity. I would like to say something to this city boy, you know?
Mm-hmm. He interjects.
Yes.
But of course, the heroine, because she's the heroine. And we always know these heroines are, you know, they resist at first. So she's like, I don't need you talking over me or, you know,
yeah. Like this
we don't serve steak here.
Yeah. She's like, you're not even supposed to be in the kitchen.
Right.
I don't know. You could go both ways on him actually, like them getting a little bit of banter about him complaining about the food and her either defending it. Like maybe it is her little shop and she loves it and this is the type of food she loves, which would just be funny going forward, right? If she has to like go live on it, you know? But or she could be like, I agree with you, but like I'm not the head chef here. You know what I mean? This is a hotel that's decided by other people. I just cook here. I wish that I could cook on a cattle ranch, but that's always been my dream, you know? You know, like there's sprouts on the plate. There's like an emulsion.
The food you get at Vegas. The little decorate plates with all the sauce.
Like, especially the tiny portion would really bother him if he's like hungry and he's used to eating.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. I love food, but I am actually a vegetarian. So like, there's only like a limited amount of like, I mean, okay, to be clear, there's great food around where I am. Like Houston has ridiculously great levels of food. But I mean, basically sometimes I long for like just like the 5-star experience with like vegetarian food.
Mhm.
So I took my husband and my son to this. I can't remember if it was vegan or vegetarian. It was one of those. The whole restaurant was, and it was very like gourmet 5-star, like expensive, like like sort of like high end place. And we go there, and oh my God, the things that they did with food, it was so weird. And like the first thing was some sort of like it was like a 5-course meal, like where it's just predetermined, everyone gets the same food. And this first one was like, I'm going off way deep into a tangent. I don't normally do this on here, but I just feel like it's highly relevant. There was this sort of like fried lentil donut situation and like seaweed caviar on top. We clarified it's not caviar with seaweed. No, it's caviar made from seaweed. So like there was that. And my husband and son were like, we're not touching it. We don't want this. And one of the dishes was like the most thin slice of bell pepper you could imagine in a perfect square. It arrived at our table in a little pool of liquid, and we were like, that definitely looks like Kraft American cheese. And only when we ate it.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm in Chicago, so we have Alana here, which is a Michelin star. So the first time I tried the Wagyu beef, it was a tiny square. He came out with a tiny square. That was the second meal, the tiny square of beef. We had to get McDonald's after the whole 7 things.
You just don't show up hungry. You know what I mean? Like you pregame.
Right.
And then you show up like as a dessert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they banter about the food. It's a little bit enemies to lovers, but also with this like air of protectiveness that he has about her.
Mm-hmm.
And so how does it progress then? Well, something needs to happen to sort of push them together further. You know what I mean? Because at this point they could just like separate.
Oh, he could come in. So you know how you go into a hotel restaurant, there's usually somebody there.
Yeah.
Maybe no one's there, but they forgot to lock the door. And so he's sitting and he realizes no one comes out. So he goes into the back and there's people. And then, that's when he hears the girl who he doesn't know who is the chef yet on the phone.
Yeah.
With her crappy boyfriend. And so something has to happen, but to get them closer, maybe there's some food. Maybe there's some food ready or something and he eats it or whatever. And then he kind of just takes it to go. Oh, and then she's leaving too. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I like that regardless of where she falls on her spectrum, like she probably does like this like super fancy food, but maybe she like agrees to make him a burger. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's almost like her way of like she has a soft spot for him because he was sort of protective, even though she like told him to mind his business. She knew that he was being protective and that made her feel good. Plus she just likes to feed people. Like you don't become a chef if you don't like to feed people.
Chef loves to feed people. Yeah, they do. Yep. That works.
So she's going to give him, maybe she'll stay after. Maybe she tells the guys like, I'll like everything's clean except for this. Like I'll clean it up so you guys can take off. So now they're like alone in the kitchen.
Yes. They're alone in the kitchen. He eats. There's interesting that one-liner banter, but mainly it's just internal monologue. And then something has to happen where she's going home, but either it's raining and she doesn't have her car, or her car is shitty and it won't start, or she parked on the street and so did he, and so his truck is blocking her like doorway so she can't get in. So something with her heading home in their vehicles, because that always works.
Okay, so I like that. Well, if this is a hotel that he's staying in.
Oh, yeah, he's not leaving.
Yeah. Well,
also her car could be shitty. She could go out and then come back and he sees her.
Oh, yeah. You know what? And he could insist on walking her out to the car because like she made him a burger and everything. So they've like made peace now. And so even though they're saying goodbye, they think they're saying goodbye forever. He's like, I'm going to walk you out. And I think that can also like play with the idea of country versus city. Like maybe.
Oh yeah. The Southern hospitality.
Right. She could be like, maybe she kind of looked down on that, like didn't really understand it, or it felt like it like sort of, it felt like she wasn't supposed to like it because of feminism, or you know what I mean?
And her boyfriend never does that.
And her boyfriend never does that. And she doesn't think to like complain or be like, I deserve better, because she's like, well, I don't want guys to have to do that. Like she thought that was the way she was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And so then this guy is like holding the door open. He's saying, maybe he does. Oh, I mean, if you're going to write a cowboy, he's got to have like a sexy drawl, and he calls her ma'am, Like,
yes. And darling, don't forget, darling.
Darling, exactly. Okay, so he's doing all of that kind of thing, holding the door open. He walks her out to her car because it's like late. I mean, if a restaurant's closing, it's like at least midnight, if not like more like 2 a.m. So he walks her out to her car. She's like, they say their goodbye. She's like, oh, it's like harder than I thought it would be, considering I just knew this guy for one night, but that's okay. I have my own life. She gets in the car, flips it. It doesn't turn on.
Yes, because she has a shitty car.
And, her boyfriend could have been doing cool things like having it maintained for her, getting an oil change, but he was not. So he could be like super manly and like, and just like, pull up the hood and be like, yeah, this is the problem right here.
Yes. So her boyfriend is city boy. So he could be a lawyer, or he could, he doesn't do anything with his hands. He doesn't get dirty, none of that. So he pops the hood. He rolls up his sleeves.
Yes.
Get those veins showing.
Exactly. And he's like, well, unfortunately, like if I were back in my farm where I have all like my tractors and stuff, if I had my tools, I could fix this, but I don't. And everywhere is like closed right now because we're just like in the middle of New York City or something. And maybe it's like also snowing,
Mm-hmm. And it could be raining.
I also imagine, and I think this is going to work with the plot. Actually, I had this thought, but I didn't share it. But I think this will actually work with the plot. So like, because I'm like, why would he even go into a restaurant that was this hoity-toity, right? Like he's going to look for a steakhouse or burgers or something, right? So what I was thinking is, what if it's, I mean, you know how cities just like when enough events are happening, like there's no hotel rooms. And what if that happens, and it's not like he's reserved it in advance, right? Because
he didn't reserve anything. There could be a convention.
Yeah.
So all the reservations are taken. There's nowhere to eat.
Like, the regular rooms are gone. He's got to go to this like fancy like spa hotel, which, it's not like he can't afford it, but he, especially with all those cows, but like, but he would not normally pick it. It's like it's not his vibe.
Right.
Which means that everyone is sold out of rooms. He got like the last room at the inn, the fancy spa inn, and it's one bed. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. The one king bed at the boutique spa hotel overlooking the New York skyline.
Which like she's worked at, but she's never gotten to stay there, right? She just
she can't afford it.
She can't afford to stay there normally. So she's never even experienced it. She's just like worked on the room service that goes up. Now ends up, I mean, she's going to resist it at first. Of course, she's going to be like, no, don't be crazy. Not going to go up to your room. He's going to be like, well, what else would you do?
Maybe, oh my God, because she lives in New York. And we all know nobody who works in New York lives in New York. She could live on a Staten Island. She could live in the Bronx. So it is a freaking hike to get back home. Yes. And she doesn't want to take the subway by herself. And he can't do it because he's not from there. And there's no more rooms. Oh my God, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And because, our readers, we can have her boyfriend actually be kind of grimy. Like he's mean. We already don't like him, so although she doesn't want to stay with him, with the cowboy, she's going to stay. But later we find out the boyfriend is doing something really grubby that just makes us root for the cowboy anyway.
Yes. I like that. So she's reluctant, but then, ultimately she agrees. It does make sense. And he despite his like alphaness, makes sure that he appears safe enough that like she could be willing to sort of like go hang out in his room. You know what I mean? And she is like insisting, like, no, I'm going to sleep on the little sofa that's obviously in part of the suite that you got, because it's like the last room. It was like $10,000.
Mhm.
Anyway,
I know, right? Billionaire role.
I know. She's like, I'll take, the couch. He's like, obviously not, you'll take I'll take the couch. And then
She doesn't have anything to sleep in, so she has to sleep in one of his oversized shirts.
Oh yes. And
then he gets an extra toothbrush from downstairs. He had all this stuff brought up. He doesn't know how to use the room, but she knows how to use the room. So she calls down. Yes.
You know how like some of the really fancy hotels are ridiculous with like all the buttons everywhere that do like multiple level of shades and lighting and what.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be like a monk, like pawing at it.
Yeah, so it's gonna be so funny because although she has not stayed in these hotels, she's familiar with them. So she's like, well, just hit that button and call down and get me this and that. And he's like, okay. And the blinds start doing weird shit because he's pressing stuff, and the lights, he's pressing things, and then the TV comes down and oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now I want a cowboy.
So he's a little befuddled, but like also there's going to be a moment during all of this lighting and blind movement where he's going to look over at her silhouette, and she's going to be framed by the skyline, and he's going to be like blown away by lust,
Mm-hmm.
so that by the time she's done messing with everything and has a toothbrush for her or whatever, they have a moment where they bump into each other, right? Like once.
Yes, like crossing the room.
Yeah. It's like, sure, it's an accident, air quotes,
You're so ridiculous.
So, okay. Here's the thing. They are going to go to sleep, right? Like, I don't think either of them are like, I mean, he's willing to bang. She's not really going into it.
Yeah, there's no sex yet. It's just he's hard.
Right. And they come up with the agreement like, listen, we're both adults here. We can both lie on the bed, right? Like, it's a big enough bed. We can just sleep on the bed. No one's back has to be hurt by the sofa, And so they're lying on the bed together, her wide awake, right? Because of this weird scenario she's in.
Right. He's wide awake.
And he's wide awake, just like imagining every like sexual thing. And then she's thinking, oh my God, we're not going to fall asleep. But then they do fall asleep. And then one of them has a nightmare.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like someone has trauma in her past. What if it's her? What if it's like not even that far in the past because it's like her asshole boyfriend?
Oh yeah, she can have a nightmare, wake up, and then she forgets where she is, and then he's there. Yes, like some nice, comforting, but not like in the boyfriend way yet. Just nice, comforting, but it feels too good for her. It's like her brain is trying, her heart is trying to tell her yes, and her brain is telling her no. You know how they think, these characters.
And then there's going to be that moment where, when he's holding her and then they both sort of quietly at the same time realize that like she's basically naked and he's missing a shirt and he's hard,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's going to question her. Who were you dreaming about? She was like probably saying, stop. And he's going to be like, who hurt you?
Right. And the readers love it when the guy says, who did this? I
know. But he's going to guess. He already heard the guy over the phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be like, is it so-and-so? Is it Evan?
Yeah, because Evans are terrible people.
She's not going to maybe admit it, but like he'll be able to tell, and he'll be like, God damn it, I'm gonna really, you have to leave that guy. I'm gonna, just beat him up for you, whatever. And she's she's going to kind of push him back. I feel like she's going to say, listen, guy, I know like you're kind of hot and have this attraction thing happening and you comforted me and you helped me out with this room thing and all that. But you've just been in my life for like one night. You don't know what you're talking about. You cannot just come in here and make requirements or dictate things here.
Right.
Does he try to kiss her to convince her?
Oh, yes. That'll be a very strong kiss. They could also, her and her boyfriend could also be on the rock. So, you know, in her mind, she could be like, well, he's about to end it anyway. Like, it's not like they're in some great relationship. Like, their whole relationship is pretty much about to go up in flames. And Cowboy here is like there just in time.
Yeah. Okay. It's the next morning. What happens? Does either of them say, hey, we should do something more? Or do they just kind of split at that point? For now, obviously, but
I think it's the morning. And why was he spending the night in the city? I feel like there's nothing wrong with his truck. Maybe it was just...
It was something about the cows. It was something about the cows. Like they have to go through the cities to get to the...
Oh, yeah. Maybe it was getting late and he was like just tired from the long drive. And so he was hoping he could just stop
left
off.
The cow standing in the road.
He's going to get the cow. So he has an empty trailer.
Cows. Okay.
Yeah. So he has an empty trailer. And so he thought he could just get a quick red roof in, whatever. But the only thing that was available is this hoity-toity, nice spa boutique hotel. So he has a mission to go, but he can't go because he doesn't want to leave her.
Oh, you know what? Here's how we can get them back together. Like, it's morning. Maybe they've both convinced themselves they have to go. You know what I mean? Not only does he's going to be thinking to himself, like, yeah, I hate that she's with this asshole and she's really cute and all, but like, there's no way we could ever actually work, right? Because she eats this vegan Michelin star food here in the city and I on a cattle ranch back in Texas. So there's no point in, prolonging this. And she's like, yeah, I mean, same. We can't be together anyway. It would never work. And I don't even know him. And, even if I do break up with my boyfriend, I don't need this guy. Like they'll kiss and then they'll both spring apart. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And they'll leave. But here's the thing, when they're going to see each other, like they have to see each other when they're picking up their cars. You know what I mean? Like they both got towed to the closest car place because he had truck problems and she has shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And what if he does something really heavy-handed? Like, what if like she comes in the afternoon, maybe she takes the subway back to her house in the morning and then like comes back to get her car because it's, whatever, probably some sort of snow issue. But this is my solution. In the north, because you need to delay someone. There was a snow issue. And so she shows back up at this place, concerned about the bill, right? Because she's got a shitty car and like anything that, knowing the bill's probably going to be high and she can't pay it, it's going to be a problem. And he's there getting his truck fixed because it's why he had to stop. And he picks up his truck. And what if like, she's like, oh my God, my car's not here in this shop. It's supposed to be here. And they're like, yeah, ask the owner guy there. And he gives her the keys to like a new sturdy car. She's like, whatever people feel like is a sturdy car that's new. And she's like, this is not my car. And he's going to be like, the gentleman got that for you. Like the gentleman said.
Oh, yes. I like it.
It's very sneaky of him.
Yes. And she's like, I can't take this. And he's like, take it. You need a good car.
Like, not only are you going to take it, like, but you have to take it. I had your old car already taken to an
impound.
It's been crushed. It's now scrap metal.
It's property of New York City's impound.
He's going to be like so furious, but also like so relieved. The car would just like randomly not start on some nights. This is not the first time it's happened, And it's always like an added, not only is it inconvenience, but it's like an added element of danger because she works in the city and all of that.
Oh, and oh my God, I just had like the most brilliant thought ever. So going back to when they spent the night together or something. Somehow, some way, they get each other's phone number. I don't know how it happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe she saw his phone number. I don't know how it happens. But she gets this car. She goes home. Her shitty boyfriend is there. He gets super upset, super mad. She gets scared. She goes out and she calls him, but he's already on the road, but he turns around.
Yeah. Yep.
He got to go get his cow.
He's going to like miss some super important cow meeting and everything is going to cost more and it's going to be really bad. Okay. Like the stakes should be high. Like the cows from his ranch have like a reputation, you know, like a good reputation. He's going to go get like an award and that's going to like set him up as like the best.
Yes.
In the world.
Yep.
Just like his daddy always wanted.
Yes. Like there's like his, like he has this farm and his family has always been the best with the cow showing. And there's this cow. He has to get this cow and he needs this cow.
Oh my God. So he's driving towards, you know, everything he's worked for his whole life and his dad worked for, and probably his dad before him worked for. And he gets the call and he's like, nope, I'm coming back. So he turns around, drives to her place, which is out in, you know, wherever people live.
Brooklyn.
And he goes there and he's like, first of all, disgusted with like this place, right? This is the first time he's even seeing this place. He's like, you should not be living in this sad place. You should only be living in fancy spa hotels, you know?
And he sees the rats.
The rats. Oh my God. Did you see the TikTok that was going around? The rat in the New York City subway that like found like a donut and it brought it over to his girlfriend and gave it to her.
Yeah.
And it was so cute. It was so weird, but it was cute.
Actually, Chicago has more rats than New York, though. We always hit number one on the list.
Oh God. And the comments are like, a provider, you know? Oh God. Yeah, I feel like Houston doesn't have that many rats. I've like barely ever seen any in my entire life.
Probably too damn hot. They melt.
Literally too hot for like, we don't even want to live here. Oh my God. Okay. Where did we leave them? Oh
yeah. He's headed back. Yeah.
Talking about you can't stay here. I can't let you stay here, you know, like plus maybe her boyfriend's pissed, like, because like you said, like his pride is hurt. Like she just came home with a new car given to her by some random customer at her where she works. That seems, I mean, that would even seem like a normal guy.
And the boyfriend has a nice car and she has a shitty car. He never wanted to help her get a better car.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like he's saucy.
So he's mad.
Oh,
okay.
Maybe when she drives home, like there's like somebody else there with her boyfriend to make him even worse. So she really can't stay there. She doesn't want to stay there. She packs a bag. Like
he's cheating on her or like he's doing a bad deal with someone?
Like it could be cheating or bad deal.
I kind of like bad deal just because it gives us like a little suspense element we can play with.
Yeah.
What if he's meeting someone really questionable looking for something? I don't even know what we want him to be into, like drugs or crime or like.
Oh yeah, he could be doing like drugs or something, and like maybe she always suspected him of doing something dirty, you know, like she just had this feeling, and then there he is giving money for.
Yeah, and the guy could, you know, I mean, the guy could just seem super sketch, like not just the way he looks, but like the way he acts. Like maybe when he sees them, he tells like the ex or the boyfriend, like, what is she doing here? You said no one would know. Or, you know, like he just like makes it really clear that this is a bad situation. And then they start arguing in the car. And then she calls the cowboy and he comes back. And maybe at that point, the boyfriend is like, because he's he's feeling super scared because he's an asshole. And he, she wasn't supposed to see this. And he's maybe like, he's working with people he's scared of, maybe he like starts throwing all of her stuff out of the car.
Oh, yeah.
Like out of the house, out of the window.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm.
And she's like just picking it up and like, this is putting it in her car and being like, this is terrible, but at least I'm actually getting out. You know what I mean? And then the cowboy arrives like before it's done so that he can see this happening and be horrified that she is being treated this way. And then he will go up and like kick that guy's ass.
Oh, yes. I love it.
Okay. So then what does he do? What does he do with her? She doesn't have a place to live and neither does he.
Well, he's headed to go get his cow. So maybe she's just like,
it's always right.
Sorry. So maybe she's like, she's been saving it because she's been for the past year or so, she's been meaning to like leave her shitty boyfriend. And so she's been saving money and she really doesn't really like the hotel restaurant that she works at. It was just, it was the only job she can get because it's so competitive in New York. And so she just makes up her mind. She packs her stuff, whatever. And he's like, well, just come with me. And she's like, it's like one of those, moments. Have you ever read that book by Kandi Steiner? What is it? Always Something. And she works in a restaurant and she meets the hero and he's going on a road trip somewhere. And he's like, just come with me. And she's like, are you crazy? And he's like, just come with me. And he goes or she goes. So it could be like the same thing. Like she's like, there's nothing really here. We don't know where her family is.
Yeah. Yeah. It could really be that maybe she's even like moved to the city for the boyfriend or something. She's like, actually, nothing's tying me here now. Okay. She trusted the cowboy enough to call him back when she was in trouble. So it's a high level of trust. And I feel like it makes sense. And he's proven himself. So she can trust him. You know what I mean? To at least be, not to promise forever or anything, just to be like, okay, like I'll go see your cow.
Yeah. So they go, she takes a deep breath. He opens the car. Okay. So the car, it wasn't like some super luxury, it was just, it could have been like just a Honda he paid some cash for. So it's nothing for her to leave it. Cause he's a rich cowboy, So so they go and he goes, is this cow?
Okay, so where is this is a serious question. Where is the cow? Where is it?
The cow is somewhere. The cow. Wait till you see New York. What's close? The cow's in Maine. In the Maine, it's at a huge cow convention center in Maine.
Okay, all right. I believe it. I'm there for it. I wrote books in Maine. Actually, I studied Maine because I was doing a Jane Eyre retelling. And so I really wanted it to be like a super gothic scene with like cliffs and wind and things. So that's apparently, I researched both the West and East Coast and I found Maine. So they go up there and it's not where he lives. It's a convention. So is it another like hotel or where are they actually staying up there?
Somewhere in a city in Maine, the biggest city in Maine. It's just he goes and gets. Well, no, it's not even a convention. Maybe he's just buying a cow from someone up there.
You know what? It works either way because I was like, here's the thing. This is probably not the first time he's made this trip, right? So what if he knows someone up there, is friends with them, and he was going to stay with them? And he's like, I was already going to stay with them. They're my friends. Like, we're just stay there. So they kind of she gets to see a little bit of his world because right now he's been seeing all of her world, Yes,
that's perfect. So he's going to get a cow or something from some cow convention. He knows people who live there. So yes. So then she gets immersed in cow stuff.
And this is like a super country style. I don't know if there's ranchers. If there are ranchers in Maine, they are ranchers. And he's probably just like selling him a special cow or something.
Yes.
People who care about those things care a lot about lineage, so it's like there are special cows, it's not just like
Just some damn Nancy the
one.
cow.
It could be like the strain of cow that his dad had always wanted to like merge with his.
Right. And it's not a cow to be killed. It's a Highland cow.
It's a Highland cow. Oh my God. Okay.
And she's going to fall in love with it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, no. Well, I mean, this cow wouldn't be killed anyway, because he's going to probably go father a bunch of babies. Like, it's probably a bull.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know so much about cow rearing. Okay. So they get there and she's like, I love like when you can romanticize something, even if it's sort of ordinary to other people. Like, it's this gorgeous, like true ranch house, like modern cottage chic,
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I never really imagined this for myself. I always like saw myself as a city girl, but this is actually really nice,
Right? She likes it.
I don't know why I saw this, or I think my son showed it to me for like, again, I don't know why, but there was this like really fancy, super large refrigerator that it wasn't wood. It was still metal on the front, but it was like a very like cool looking matte metal, and it was molded to kind of look like cabinets. So it was just like the kind of fridge that only celebrities could have. And it was like $12,000. And this chef goes in, and she had always viewed ranch style things as being like rustic or old. And this friend, this wife of this friend of his has like the most gorgeous kitchen imaginable. She has like a Hollywood.
Ooh.
And so our chef is like in heaven.
Yes.
Maybe it's
cook
like
her food.
Yes, maybe it's like a couple that he's going up to see. It could be a couple of like another book,
Mm-hmm.
for that sell-through.
Yep. Gotta think about that sell-through.
So it's like a guy and a girl, they're together. He brings her up. So it feels a little bit like a double date, like that's kind of what it is really. But that can just like, it can escalate those feelings of like, do we really feel like we could be a couple? Is this a fling or is this whatever? And then the wife and the chef could really hit it off, like just in a friendly way, and the chef could be like, oh my God, like just being real here. This is the coolest kitchen I've ever even imagined,
Mm-hmm.
And the person who lives there could kind of laugh and be like, it is so nice, but you know what? I'm not much of a cook. And the chef could be like sort of longingly looking over at everything. And she could be like, well, I mean, this is a weird thing to offer, but like, would you like to cook something in here? And the chef would be like, oh my God, would I? And so she like does her whole, like a whole spread for everyone, and they all have a great night, just like as a high point in the book.
Yes, I love that.
So now we need like the low point, I think, because like things have been progressing.
Yes. Oh, a low point could be, did they travel back home yet?
They can start doing that. Yeah.
Maybe they're headed home, or they're headed to his house, and they have to stop, but they stop in a town that's maybe 4 or 5 hours from his house. So they're in the same, they're closer. So they stop and they stay at this type of inn or something, and it has a restaurant nearby, and they go and he sees his ex. But maybe his ex sees him, but she doesn't say anything, and the cowboy goes to the restroom or something, and she comes over to our heroine and says something that makes her doubt the cowboy and his true intention.
Absolutely. And I think also everything about her should just look like the perfect rancher's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so it will really make the heroine feel like, oh yeah, we don't belong together. I always knew we didn't belong together,
Right. Yep. Gotta have that, dark moment.
Gotta have the dark moment. What does she do then? Does she just like leave him a note and leave, and then he has to go after her?
Yes. And it's raining. It's always raining.
It's always raining. I mean,
always raining. So she goes out. She doesn't know where she is. She's in the middle of this country ass town, and she has her city clothes on, and her feet are getting all muddy, and he hops in his truck, and he has the cow now. So he has to be careful. He has to be careful whipping that trailer.
Oh my God. Okay, listen. He can be, maybe he actually like sort of gets home. You know what I mean? He can just pass the cow off at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Like they get back and they've just arrived. They stop to eat and then see her, or they go out to a bar or something so he can reconnect with his friend and like pass off the cow. Well, what's cool about that is you really get to actually see the town, right? That she's eventually going to live in, presumably.
Yes.
So yeah, so you kind of see this town and you get the sense that even though there's catty people like his ex, that there's also cool people because like we probably want to read books by like the other people here. Okay, so she's just like, I'm gonna leave. Like, but it's also ridiculous. Like if you're used to living in any big city, but like especially New York City, how cabs are everywhere and Ubers are everywhere. And she's out, she just like walks away from this bar and is like, oh, this is ridiculous. Like it's saying the closest Uber is like an hour away.
Mm-hmm.
So she just kind of
2
like,
hours away.
yeah.
2 hours.
Random story. I once was in Rome, like by myself. I had a day, like I was signing there and I had a day where I could do whatever I wanted. And so like just by myself, I got an Uber from my hotel, which was right like in the center of Rome or whatever, out to these ruins. And to me, it was only 30 minutes. So I was like, and I live in Texas, literally. So that's like nothing to me, right? Like that's just, we're going out to a restaurant. But in Rome, because it's like much smaller, they consider that like far afield. You know what I mean? Like you went out into the countryside a little bit. And so the ruins were great. I was there for hours. My phone was dying. And only at the end of the day, they were about to close and my phone had like 2%. Did I realize the Uber wouldn't let me order an Uber back? Because apparently like the rule is for cabs that they will take you anywhere you ask to go, which I don't know why that would even be the rule. Like if I'm like, I would like to go to China, they will just like drive me there, you know, but that was the rule, but it's outside of their pickup range. So I was like, oh my God, at these like Roman ruins. Why did I start talking about this? Oh, because she's stranded at the bar. Yeah. Okay. So she's walking away. He's going to follow her and like, they're going to have their heart to heart moment right now in the rain, like Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice. And while they're having that heart to heart, there's a moo that comes through, the sound of the cow.
Oh my God. You know, what's hilarious about this is I was like, oh, isn't it cool that you write like such like sexy taboo books? And then we just wrote an entire book like that had no sex in it whatsoever. I did think they would definitely have it like at the friend's house in Maine, you know?
Yeah, the sex is at the friend's house in Maine. The friends, they go out to dinner or do something. And so they have the night by themselves. And yeah.
And like he can use rope. He knows how to use,
yes.
Right?
So he has a little BDSM streak.
Yeah. It's just rope. You know what I mean? It's going to be on the cover, all of that. Okay. So they're having their heart to heart. He's like, you can't just leave. And she's like, why can't I? I'm not tied to you. Oh, hashtag, that might be the title, tied to you. Anyway.
Oh, yes. He pulls out his rope. No, wait, no, he's not. They're in the heart to heart moment. Sorry.
He throws out his emotional ropes, you know what I mean? And just like pulls her in. He just
oh God.
Okay. And he's like, I want you to stay with me. And she's like, and what? Be your little housewife? Like I always wanted to have a dream of like owning my own restaurant and in the big city. And he's like, well, maybe like, you know, he's kind of thinking like, well, maybe she could open a restaurant here or whatever. But then he's like, you know what? I care about her more than my entire family legacy and this cow. So like, he's like, I will move to New York City for you. And that's when she realizes she doesn't want to go to New York City. She wants to live here in the ranch.
Yes. And then he opens up a restaurant for her.
Yes. Yeah. She's gonna literally have a restaurant. It's going to be like super famous. Like, frankly, fancy restaurants do really well because, I mean, A of all, she doesn't need the money, but like B of all, like people have nowhere else to eat, you know?
Right? She could bring her big city menu to the small town. You know, it could be fancy schmancy.
And
you know, like Bob's Burgers.
No. And they could have like some moment, like in the epilogue, part of it is that, you know, even the other ranchers, the other ranch hands, like all his ranch buddies are like, this is actually delicious.
Yes. They could be like, we usually eat burgers, but we like this hoity-toity shit.
What's in this? Brussels sprouts? I love it.
I love it. Cracked broccoli.
You know, like it's got like foam on it, you know.
Sauteed vegetables.
A little reduction.
Edamame with sea salt.
Yes. Okay.
Edamame is so good. Oh my God.
I'm like actually hungry, but okay. What is the actual epilogue though? That can't be the whole epilogue because it can't be about other people. I mean, they can be in it, but what do they actually do in the epilogue?
The epilogue can be, it could be like 2 years later and she opened up. So her little restaurant that she opened, there's another location in another town over that's maybe, or 2 towns over that's like a little bigger. And then let's see, we can go back to that couple. Well, they're already a couple. So, the cowboy can have a friend. He can have a guy friend. A guy friend, and same town. Like, this is interconnected series. Same town, different couple. So we could throw in the guy friend. They could meet the guy friend while they're in Maine. He's single, you know, love's not for him, all that stuff. But it's fine if it's him and some other girl because, you know, characters, they'll like the, familiar of the town. So,
yeah, I actually like, what if part of the whole series concept is like country guys with matching them with city girls? So what if in her fancy restaurant, she attracts kind of like renown. And so this like girl, maybe specifically the city girl comes to her restaurant, you know, and then somehow during that process meets this rancher buddy.
Oh yeah. That's it.
That's the epilogue. We do have to do a title, but what did I say? Tied to you?
Tied to you?
We want to do that, or we could do like roped in or something.
I like roped in, cowboy.
All right. I like roped in too. I feel like the cover is just rope. You know what I mean? It could be abs with the ranch in the background. Probably that, honestly. Probably that.
Yes. It could be like rope with the cowboy hat with a city background, or just the rope. I like the rope.
Yeah.
Rope. Yes, we like the rope.
All right. Yeah, he's holding rope. That's what he's doing.
He's holding rope. Cow in the background. I was kidding.
Okay. So here's the question for you, the final question of the evening. What if readers liked the story that we told them in Roped In? Where should they start reading your books?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I feel like it could be the Stonebridge Daddies.
It could. I feel like I have like some, that was a book I wrote before. But yeah, they could start with, I do have a book that's like this, although he's not a cowboy. He's an Aussie, and it's a surprise baby daddy book. Ooh. It is, I think it's the 4th book in the series.
Thank you so much for coming, Natalie. I loved writing Roped In with you. I hope everyone here enjoyed it. And we're going to drop links in the show notes so you can find out where to read more of Natalie's books. Natalie, thank you for coming.
Yay, it was so much fun. I loved it.
Thank you so much for listening to Storytime with Skye. I hope you enjoyed the story we crafted this week. Please subscribe so you don't miss a new episode, and leave a review so that other listeners can find our show. We always put links for any books we discuss, as well as books by the guest author, in the show notes, so you can definitely find something new to read. And if you want to help choose our romance adventure, be sure to join our Facebook group, Storytime with Skye. That's where we gather suggestions and poll our readers, just like you, to find out what our next story will be. Thank you for being part of the story.
Welcome to the story. It's story time with Skye.